I'll do an accent today, and it's this one. Y'all, welcome to the Gear Slum, your one-stop shop for all things guitar culture nonsense. I'm Aaron.
Everything I do it for you. Ooh. I'm Phil.
And I'm Cole.
We slum it hard so y'all don't have to.
Dong.
You know,
Dong.
Yeah, sing
Dong,
it.
You know,
dong,
accent.
dong.
Oh, come on now.
Hey, y'all.
You know, Phil.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, come on now. You know, Phil. That song that you sang up there front could be seen as slightly insensitive.
Why?
Just given all the current musical drama going on.
Which musical drama is that?
You know what I'm talking about. It's not even musical drama. It's just drama.
We're talking about Cats.
Musicians.
That's my favorite musical drama.
That's your favorite musical drama? That's awful.
It's way good.
How dare you?
My favorite musical drama is the one that has the song called "Everyone Has AIDS."
Mine is
Which one is that?
Newsies. Everyone Has AIDS is from Rent.
That's right. It's from.
But
Rent.
is it actually called that, or is that like a thing that people like a joke song?
It's from Team America.
Yes.
It's not really Rent, but it is Rent. It's Lease.
It's making. Oh yes, Lease. Stupid.
Making fun of
I
Rent.
still haven't seen. Oh, we were going to watch that movie at NAMM.
We were supposed. I know.
Rent is
Cole,
good. Though.
you have to see. Oh my gosh, that movie is so freaking funny.
Rent.
Have you guys?
No. Idiot.
Have you guys heard of the Fantastics? It's like
No.
Maybe I've talked about it before, but the whole point of the thing is that it's like a mother, or it's like two dads who are next door neighbors who, like, their whole lives, their kid, one has a daughter and one has a son, and their whole life they told them they couldn't be together because they knew it would make them want to be together, you know, because they wanted them to date. But then, like, by the time they grew up, they had to find a way to where, like, they had to find a way to where they couldn't refuse them getting married because they wanted them to. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so they like hire someone to try to abduct her, and then so he can rescue her, and then and it's like, and the song is called The Rape Ballet, and it's like this really.
This sounds terrible.
It's like this really cheerful song about staging this rape. It's kind of cringy, but it's
kind of cringy.
And that all ends. No, if you listen to it in context,
cringy.
It's not like. Well, I don't know. It's been so long since I watched it that it's been like, you know, since 2001 that I've watched it. But then that's the whole first act, and then the second act starts with them after they, like, it's the happily ever after at the end of the first act, and then the second act starts with them after they've been married for like 10 years and they're sick of each other and everything, and they're like. Gosh. They've gotten old and fat and everything.
So all of that whole thing with the family and the kidnapping,
that's just the first
that's
act.
just the setup.
Yeah, exactly. But it is, to be fair, it is like 2/3 of the play.
Oh, okay. That's insane.
Speaking of stuff that does not age well, I watched Annie, and I had never seen Annie before. There's like a whole bunch of movies that I've never seen It's a Wonderful Life, or like all these movies that everyone's seen. So I'd never seen Annie, the original one from the 80s. But holy crap, there is some very regrettable racist decisions in that.
Yeah.
In that movie. So, like, you guys know the premise of Annie, right?
I know everything about Annie. The premise, the title,
the songs. The song
what
called
it get
Hard
opening
Knock
weekend?
Opening
weekend, Aaron. What it make?
Like
Jay-Z was in
Daddy
it.
Daddy Warbucks has like this assistant who's named Punjab.
He doesn't know.
And
how much did it? What was the question that you're asking me?
How much did it make opening weekend?
The film or the play?
The film, Aaron.
The original one or the Jamie Foxx reboot?
Oh yeah, there was one in the 90s too.
No, it was more.
It was
recent than that.
2014.
Oh, but wasn't there one?
This
Wasn't
guy.
there another one in the 90s too?
Because Because if you're asking about the original one, that made about $510,000 on opening weekend. But if you're asking about the 2014, that made about $15.5 million opening weekend, which is probably largely just due to inflation because they were 32
Aaron
years
is so
apart,
good at
but
Googling things, isn't he, folks?
I didn't Google it. I just know that. You asked me. I told you I know everything about Annie.
I know. And I asked you, and you slowly...
I didn't understand the question at first.
Series of clarifying questions.
Yeah.
And we stalled and Googled.
I swear
It's
I didn't
fine.
Google.
It's fine.
I didn't Google. I was asking just so I wouldn't give you wrong information.
Listen, we're derailing Cole's bit where he tells us about how racist...
It's not a bit.
this
I'm
movie-
just telling a story.
Do you guys remember when I had jingles for each of you? And
Jingles?
yeah, I made jingles, one for each of you.
I don't.
And Phil's went like this. It's the part of the show when Phil gets racist.
No, I don't remember that.
But now it's Cole that's always racist, so it's kind of ironic.
I don't agree with
Although
that.
here was yours. It was, I remember this. Cole hates everybody.
Oh yeah, I do remember that now. That is more accurate than me
That's
being
true.
racist, but they're probably both. There's some truth to both of them. So, at any rate, this guy. So I was looking up the
And I
actor
didn't
who
have one
plays.
because no one cared to make me
So,
one.
so first of all, this guy, he's like this super rich guy, you know, and one of his
His name is Daddy Warbucks, which makes me think he made his money on the war.
and they go like they talk about how he was a Republican all the time, and he like he's always get J. Edgar Hoover on the phone, and you know, so he's got this one assistant who's Asian, and every time he comes on camera, he's like doing karate, and they do the, you know, da 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 da, like the you know the most obvious, but even worse is the character Punjab who. I was looking it up. So Jeffrey Holder's the actor, and he's actually from Trinidad and Tobago, which I didn't know that. But to look at him, he just looks like a black guy, you know, like you wouldn't think and he's obviously not Indian in any way. But
Whoa, it's Albert Finney?
who's Albert Finney?
He's this old actor dude now.
Oh,
You would
that
recognize
plays.
him. He played Daddy Warbucks.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and he looks like his skin looks way dark for some reason. Like he was super tan, had a shaved head.
I think it's just because it's like old and...
Maybe so. Yeah, maybe.
No, it's
like
not that old. It's from 1982.
Yeah.
But I think it is probably just like the coloration of the film. The saturation
Well,
or whatever.
Yeah, the coloration of the film is the thing I had a problem with. So this guy, like he wears a turban the whole time, and like every time he comes on camera, like the very first thing he does on camera is Annie gets out of the car with this dog, and the dog's like barking, and he like waves his hand, and it does this little snake charming music thing, and then the dog lays down and quiets down. And there's another part just randomly that has nothing to do with anything else in the movie, where he's like waving his hand at this potted plant that's sitting on a table, and it like levitates up and sits down on a different table.
I remember that.
And the entire time it's playing this music. I don't know. It was very cringy.
I like what they do with his eyebrows, though.
But how is that racist? That's like such a nice quality to have.
Exactly. That's like when you say it's not racist to say Asians are good at math. Like everyone would.
Plus,
want to be
yeah,
it's
good at
not
math.
racist because that guy's not actually Indian.
Well, I don't know.
It's only
Wait a
racist
second.
if it's a real person.
Yeah, exactly. That's why what's his face's character in why can I never remember it?
Robert Downey Jr.
In the 80s
in
movie.
Tropic Thunder.
Not 16 Candles.
Long duck dong.
That is
No.
16 Candles.
No, I'm talking about why can't I think of it?
Long duck dong.
No, the guy,
That's
the white
16
guy
Candles.
who plays an Asian in
In
Rooney,
16
Mickey Rooney.
Candles?
Oh, that's
Oh.
not... It's not
I
from
said
the 80s.
not-
16 candles.
It's
I
not
said
from
not
the 80s,
in 16
though.
Candles.
It's not from the 80s. That's from like the 60s or 50s.
What movie is it from?
It's from Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Oh. But still, like that's at any rate. So it was very shocking to see that in hindsight.
I was listening to a podcast recently,
Weird brag. Okay.
and this guy was saying that he he had his like, I think his kids were like 10 or something around there, and he's like, I want you guys to sit down and watch one of the greatest movies ever, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh.
And he was talking about how like subtly racist the movie is. He's like, I don't think, it's like obviously 16 Candles gets, has been getting flack for years, but he said this one is weirdly subtly racist in that all of the white characters are strong and like deliberate, and then it's all of the brown characters have obviously are like these walking stereotypes, but they're all
they're like flawed,
weak-minded, and they're all like they're all like weak in character in a number of different ways. And he said it was super strange, and then he felt like really bad because of how subtle it was, because then he started trying to point it out to his kids, and they were like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "My kids are kind of racist."
They're just young,
or they just don't care.
Yeah,
was that
right.
Is that movie set like in World War II era?
Okay, so
it's like between the world wars.
Well, the Nazis are like, yeah, because the Nazis
they're
are the
like
bad guys.
coming to power. Yeah. That's why like stuff from that era is so, because there was like such a very clear bad guy, it was easy to have that in fiction. Although if the white guys
most of the bad guys are actually
exactly like
Middle
they look
Eastern in that movie.
Most of the bad guys and the good guys look the same.
Right, which is part of his point. He said all the Nazis are like
they're evil, but
they're
smart.
bad, but they're like they're smart and they're cunning and they're deliberate about their plans. And then it's like all the brown characters are like subservient or like connive, like these like just slimy.
It's basically like all boiled down to that scene where he's in the marketplace and that dude pulls out the sword and starts waving it around, and then he just shoots him.
Yeah,
that's like a microcosm for the whole film and how it treats.
Yeah,
race.
it's like this guy's so dumb that he doesn't know guns exist or something.
Yeah,
right. I think he pointed that out, and what everyone says about that scene is that was like improv, but still, it really is like symbolic for the whole movie.
Yeah, like you wouldn't know that it was improv based on the rest of the movie.
Right, and you put it in the movie. It wasn't like improv on
like
opening day.
We say regrettable stuff, but then we try to remember to cut it out. The other thing about Annie is like there's so many sex scenes in it. Like, is there any movies from the 80s that are actual kids movies? Because honestly, like
probably, but
the main character, Miss
Hannigan.
Miss Hannigan. She's just like
yeah.
drunk the whole time, and she's always trying to sleep with guys. Like my wife ended up fast forwarding like 3 different scenes, and there were still a few that she didn't fast forward. I ended up rewinding a few scenes. I was like, hey, Miss Hannigan, more like Miss. I don't know.
When I was a kid, I had a big crush on Miss Hannigan.
Did you guys watch that video of Delaney talking about, not Delaney, who is that I talking about Back to the Future?
No.
Yeah, I've seen that bit before, but
gosh, that was funny.
It's pretty funny.
He's talking about
John. It's John Mulaney.
John Mulaney.
Have you seen that, Cole?
No.
Like not the video that he sent, but the bit.
He's pitching. He's pretending to be the 2 dudes pitching the idea for Back to the Future.
Yeah.
And the whole premise is family movies in the 80s were very weird.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he starts talking about Back to the Future, and it is.
Oh, maybe I have
really
seen
spot
it.
in.
I mean, it talks about like some of
his
the
friend
things.
is like he's friends with a disgraced nuclear physicist and doesn't explain why, and then
yeah.
And then he goes back to the future to try to sleep with his mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the dude tries to rape her, and the dad has to like fight him off.
Yeah, he's like, so the studio's like, they go, so then he goes, he has to go back in time, and they go, oh, okay, we're tracking with you to like stop the JFK assassination, and they're like, no,
Exactly.
no, just to have sex with his mom.
We're also going. The thing goes. We're also going to imply that a white guy wrote Johnny Be Good.
Yeah. Yeah, he says a disgraced nuclear physicist, and he goes, he could be 40, he could be 80, we don't know.
So that's what I watched this week.
There's none of that nonsense in Bill and Ted.
Oh yeah,
I'm just kidding.
yeah. I'm sure there isn't any regrettable decisions where they're going back to all these like easily identifiable times and people.
Yeah,
Your
like
stepmom
Genghis
is
Khan.
cute. Shut up,
Yeah,
Ted.
exactly.
Missy, who like literally just graduated the year before, and is now married to one of their dads. That's creepy. My favorite, the best part is that she's married to the other dad in the second movie.
No, she's not.
Yes, she is.
Wait, she divorced the one and then married the other one?
Yeah, she's married to Bill's dad in the first one, and she's married to Ted's dad in the second one.
Oh, that's amazing. And you know what? It just goes to show that those two boys, if they would have had mothers in their lives, maybe they wouldn't have turned out like that.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is this podcast is really about every child being raised by one man and one woman.
Here's a direct quote from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Ted says, "I can't believe Missy divorced your dad and married mine."
Here's the thing: it's doubling down on the ridiculousness of the joke from the first one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it's
just
great.
It's
smashing it into the ground, which is
it's
really
a
great.
comedic level of like self-awareness or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
On the
Those
filmmaking
movies are
part.
way smarter than people give them credit for, I say.
I've heard you say
maybe-
that.
maybe I
We
need
got
to
a
go
lot of
back
good
and
stuff
watch
on this
those.
show here, this here podcast. The
We've
Gear Slam.
already done a lot of good stuff.
Yeah,
That's
Aaron,
what I'm saying. We have a
We've
lot
got-
of good stuff on this episode.
We've got
Why are
17
you
minutes of
guys?
good
That's
stuff.
what I just said.
Okay, Aaron.
You're acting like I
I'm just-
didn't say that. You're fighting against me for something that I said.
Aaron, shut up for a second. I'm just saying.
I'm sorry you're so triggered, Aaron.
We have a lot of good stuff already, and we have a lot of good stuff planned on this episode of the Gear Slum. So thanks for tuning in. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Sinusoid cables? Sinusoid cables don't want you to know that they supported, I don't know.
This episode of the Gear Slum is brought to you by Sinusoid Cables. Sinusoid Pro Audio Couture. If you have cable needs for your musical instrument rig, look no further than Sinusoid. Sinusoid is the finest purveyor of the finest purveyances in all the land. They got instrument cables, they have power cables, they have patch cables, they have auxiliary cables. They can make you anything your heart desires. They have a
IEM
custom
cables.
shop. Yeah, IM cables. They have all kinds of cables. The
Not
only thing they don't
IM.
make
They don't
is
make cables
smiles.
for instant messenger.
No, they do. They could.
In-ear monitors. They could, I guess.
I am ready. I am listening.
Smelling like a rose that somebody gave me. My birthday
deathbed.
That's
Sinusoid. Pro Audio Couture. And now, back to your show. Welcome back to the Gear Slum. We have some great topics planned for today. Number one, Cole, why
Some
don't
of
you
which
tell us
we've
about
already
this?
Everything I do it
So the
for
only
Phil,
thing-
stop singing Bryan Adams songs.
The only thing I'm going to say about Ryan Adams, and
And
maybe the only thing
really stop singing them, please. You're making
all of
me
us are going to say
very sad.
is that
love Bryan
until
Adams.
just before we were
And not
recording,
Ryan Adams.
I thought Ryan Adams was Bryan Adams.
Yeah, despite the fact that, like, in every
There's
forum,
pictures, exactly.
there were
Like,
many
I'm
people
not-
saying that same thing, and, like, everyone's being like, you're an idiot.
Aaron, what Cole is saying
I
is
love
he
it.
regretfully pulled out his CD binder, took out all of his Bryan Adams CDs, and threw them in a fire in protest of the horrible news, and then just now learned that he threw the wrong CDs into the fire.
Luckily, I don't own any Ryan Adams CDs because I didn't even know who that was. But
You
part of
said
it,
more
like
Bryan Adams.
I said, Ryan. I know.
No,
he
Phil
said-
is saying that you burned your Bryan Adams CDs on accident.
I know.
It was a great joke.
I wasn't disputing that fact. I was just saying,
Aaron, he got the joke.
I'm sorry.
I was saying I didn't have any Ryan Adams CDs.
I'm sorry. It was
didn't
just
even know who it
interesting because he was like, "Oh, you burned the Bryan Adams CDs," and then you're like, "I don't even have Ryan Adams CDs," which you can see why I was confused. I'm sorry, but it's my bad. My misunderstanding.
I mean, I know you're trying to do that like apology, non-apology, where you're like, well, the reason I did the thing I did is because of this, because I was right and you were wrong, obviously, but I'm going to apologize anyway.
I didn't do anything.
But like the reason is because I was right and you were wrong. But I'm
no,
sorry
I'm just saying,
that I was right.
I'm apologizing for jumping on you is what I'm saying. Like I apologize.
This is the only thing I'm going to say. That's it then, is that I didn't know who Ryan Adams was, and I don't know why people like him or like his music, and he kind of looks like a poor man's Ben Gibbard.
Let's make it.
He's obviously a trash, a garbage human person.
All for love.
Phil, we are going to murder you.
That's it. That's all I wanted to sing.
That's not even Bryan Adams.
Is it all you wanted to sing?
He didn't sing that part, you dummy.
It is that is Bryan Adams.
No, it's not. It's 3 people, and he's only one of them, and he didn't sing that line.
Yes, he's one. They all sing a harmony at that part.
Yeah, but he didn't sing the melody.
Apparently CNN, I just Googled Bryan Adams. CNN wrote an article saying Bryan Adams is not Ryan Adams.
Yes. Oh, that's amazing.
That's the thing is like Ryan Adams isn't like he's fake famous. He's just Guitar World. He's like Joe Bonamassa. Like why do people care
I don't
about
think he's Guitar World famous. I think
he's like hipstery famous.
He's famous among people who listen to like independent music and like pride themselves in that. So he's very famous in like the Pitchfork world.
But like pseudo independent music.
I mean, he has like a legit independent company. I'm sure he doesn't have independent distributing, but
yeah.
He's I'll tell you this, he is at least as famous as like Bright Eyes. Like he's like that level of famous.
Okay. That surprises me, and I had heard his name obviously, but
or even more. I mean, he
like,
probably has more
sucks.
like industry cachet than Bright Eyes, but he's as famous, I would say.
It sucks that like some allegations that have come out in the last year or two of just about people in general. It's not like they're all troubling, but it's most troubling in my mind when it's like these people who are an obvious, like that was the issue with one of the underlying issues with Weinstein was that he had so much power over people and that's what he was abusing, you know?
Yeah.
And it sounds like this is the exact same scenario, which is just so disgusting.
Well, yeah, and it wasn't even
scale,
like it's not even like so like sometimes you hear stories about people who are like in positions of power and then they like end up abusing that power. You know what I mean? Like an opportunity presents itself and they're like, "Oh, I have power. I can do this thing." But this is like, and maybe that's like a
he
fiction
sought out
that
power
exists
in order
but
to
like
do it or something.
He pursued these women and was like, "Hey, I can help you with your career." And then they're like, "Oh, cool." And then he was like, "Oh, just kidding. I really just want to have sex with you." And then they're like, "Oh, now I'm like stuck in this weird relationship that's like technically a business relationship, but also like messed up."
Yeah, like I can't get out of it.
A naked business relationship. Cole, this article, the CNN article with the two of them, did the picture of Bryan Adams and Ryan Adams next to each other makes me laugh. Like the picture of Bryan Adams, he looks like he found the perfect picture.
Dude, he looks like a freaking bad A mofo.
I know, but the expression on his face is like, "Yep,
seriously,
that's not me."
Yeah, he's like, "Seriously, guys." Yeah, like not only does he look like the most handsome 50-year-old on the planet, but it's also like, are you guys serious? This little baby face guy over here.
Tight. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
he's like,
funny.
He's like, not me, guys, not.
So the best thing that I've read about it so far is this article from Pitchfork by Amy Phillips. Did you guys read that I posted in our group? It's called "Why Are Women Underrepresented in Music?"
The one where you were talking about how like the thing that's regrettable is that there are so many amazing artists who we now weren't exposed to, but we could have been if Ryan Adams wasn't such a dirtbag. Is that what you're talking about?
And I think that's part of it, but I think even more than that, the worst part is that like we talk about toxic masculinity a lot not a lot, but I mean in private we do, but we've talked about on the show like how the guitar world is not
Yeah.
Like,
it's not great.
What's the word I'm looking for? It's not like open to women in like
it's not like
in the same way that it is to men. Yeah, welcoming or like even safe and
it's not
like, a lot of
equal,
real
they're not
ways.
on equal footing basically.
And that's part of the reason why. And like people defending that is part of the reason why. And even like it's a two thing because on one hand we create a space where people like him can do the things that he did, but it's also like that perpetuates it even more. And like it's like no wonder women don't want to come out into guitar groups because it's so gross and like they have to worry about that stuff. It's crazy. I don't know.
Especially when like one of the first comments when this comes out that a lot of people have is, "Oh, I guess he's just guilty until proven innocent, huh?"
It's so
and it's
stupid.
like, yeah, all these verified claims that like tons and tons of women have made, and then he's come out and apologized for it. Like we're supposed to pretend it didn't happen until he like goes on trial in a criminal trial or something.
Plus, like most of what he did
idiotic.
isn't criminal.
Exactly. Like he's just a terrible human being.
I mean, obviously there is some stuff that some of the allegations are clearly criminal, but
yeah,
most of it is like he was emotionally abusive, and it's like you don't go to jail for being emotionally abusive.
But also that's
right.
like part of the problem is like is that the bar we're setting is like as long as you're not breaking the law, you should try to abuse people as much as possible without breaking the law.
Right. I'm going to say this.
It's the whole Ted Kavanaugh thing over and over again. It's like you're ruining his career. Well, maybe he shouldn't have done the things that he did, and then his
like
career would be fine.
Exactly. Like nobody's ruining it. Like he's And granted, the cat, like, well, whatever. It's not like an apples to apples comparison with that. But yes, it's like you make the decisions you make, and if you make terrible decisions that harm other people, then you don't deserve to have success because of it. You know. Sorry,
right,
Phil.
But no, yeah, I just feel like, and I'm sure this isn't really the most popular thing to say, but the phrase "all women should be believed," I feel like is dumb. But "all women should be heard" is like kind of freaking obvious. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And so, like, to say, like, well, and the fact that there are tons of women, then, like, of course, like, duh. Everyone should be heard. Everyone should be heard. Please tell your story. And like I was saying to you guys, I think this was before we were recording, like, some of the women have been saying this. Like, it's not like, surprise, here's the thing. It's like they've been talking about it. So... And that clearly is part of the.
It's not like this is one. It's not like this is one vindictive person trying to take someone down.
No, the big catalyst was that the New York Times like finally compiled this article and got the text
and did
messages
a bunch of,
from the
and
underage girl and all that stuff. Yeah,
I don't know. Like I agree that like everyone, you know, shouldn't be believed 100% because that does set up this. Because there are obviously cases where women use that against men with false allegations and stuff like that, but
it's happening all the time, Cole.
But we have done so poorly on one side of that we need to err on the other side. Like historically, men have been able to take advantage of women so much that we at least need to err on the side of believing women.
Right, and I don't think no one actually cares about false allegations. That's always just like a red herring that. Like people use. I mean, I'm sure people care about it, but it's always like, oh, what if it's false allegations? Like, it's so rare that it's not worth considering.
It's like every argument online. It's like I'm gonna try to come up with something so that I can stay on one side of this thing.
Yeah, it's like I was having this conversation with this dude in another group about mega churches, and I was like. It was so stupid. So there was this big scandal with this dude, James McDonald, I think. Who have you guys been keeping up with this? He was from this church called Harvest. This church called Harvest. Anyway, so he had like for years people had been accusing him of,
by the way,
of being like abusive emotionally and like having anger issues and all this stuff, and so like the board had asked him to step down, but they have like satellite churches, I guess. So they're like, well, he can still preach at this other satellite church. Whatever.
What?
And then the pastor of that church was like, well, I really am not comfortable with that happening. Like,
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you have to like listen to our leadership. And then he's like, well, can you just like remove our affiliation and let us be independent?
Cool
and they're like, no, you're fired. So they fired that pastor.
Wow.
But then like recently this recording came out of the dude the main pastor, who was like yelling and screaming and talking about like planting child pornography on the desktop of this dude who runs this magazine, Christianity Today, that like did some of the expose on them and like all this other stuff and like yelling. So he finally got fired. Anyway, so that's like the context. So I was like, so this dude posted in this group about it, and then this other dude, Guacamole, G Money, said, he's like, well, like statistically speaking, small church pastors are more likely to have this kind of failure than mega church pastors. And I was like, are you talking about statistics or are you talking about like
just numbers?
Raw numbers? And he goes, yeah, statistics, raw numbers. Like, wait, what?
Which one are you talking about? You talking about black or you talking about white? Yeah, black, white. Yeah,
I was
exactly.
like, yeah, obviously probably more small church pastors do, but like statistically, obviously it's a higher percentage for whatever. Anyway, but then he's like, well, you can't like say that about mega churches because my church isn't like that. I'm like, dude, you're so like not all mega churching me right now. It's so stupid. Like obviously you can find an exception to any argument. Like that's not the point.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you can't use generalities because generalizations are like evil and you're tearing down.
Because I have an
church
exception to this generality.
I was like, dude, whatever. Anyway, but like that's the same kind of attitude that people have in these kinds of cases too. It's like, well, let me point to like the one time that someone was falsely accused as proof that it happens all the time, and it's like,
yeah,
it's so ridiculous. Makes me so angry. I'm sorry. I'm very upset.
And also, like, but it obviously has a higher, like, there's a higher likelihood of it happening the more power you have. That's just how it is. Like,
right.
The more power you have, the more likely you are to abuse it.
Exactly.
Somebody at some tiny little church, and also like the incentive, like somebody who starts out seeking that kind of power so they can abuse it, is going to seek it out in a mega church rather than somebody who just genuinely wants, because there's two things, like we were saying before. It's like either you get into a business or a field or whatever with the intent of gaining power so that you can abuse it, or you gain power over time and then realize like, oh, I can abuse this. And there's probably a little bit of both, but obviously if somebody is looking for power so they can abuse it, they're going to seek it out in a mega church because they have so much more power,
Yeah.
And I wish, man, Phil, I wish we could think of because we're both thinking of the same thing and it's going to drive me insane. We've talked about it recently.
Fallacies? Maybe we should just kind of have in our doc for episodes, maybe we should have a list of fallacies. Like,
is that the plural of fallacies? Because I have another doc that has a bunch of those in it.
Some logical, some highly illogical.
Share that. That's fallacies. That's in my
highly illogical.
Some are highly illogical.
Some defy logic.
Oh man.
And reason. They defy reason.
So
yeah.
So here's what I want to actually talk about.
Well, let's hit another sponsor spot before we do that.
Oh, they're gonna love this. They're gonna love being associated with this.
Pelican Noise Works. If you like pedals, especially fuzz and weird stuff, like the Binford 6100, the working man's multi-effects pedal. It's got fuzzed out reverb. It's got tweaked out pitch shifting delay. It's got the craziest ring mod you've ever heard, with a high mid nasal pitch shift jump boost you will not want to listen to. He also makes fuzz pedals like the Half Horse and the Pelotar, two of the greatest fuzz pedals on the market. If you want noise and you can handle the noise of the noiseness, listen to yourself and your heart and go to PelicanNoiseWorks.com today. Buy all 3 of those pedals. Buy a mug while you're at it. Buy a sticker. Buy a shirt. Buy a friend. Pelican Noiseworks.
Did you say buy a friend? Did you say buy a friend?
Yeah.
No, he was
Buy
saying
a-
this. No, he was saying this.
Buy a
ad.
shirt, buy a pedal, buy a shirt, buy a mug.
Yeah,
Buy some
they're all
stickers,
made.
buy a friend.
I mean, they're all made by a friend.
Yeah, that was the signature on the ad.
It's like,
was, this is
buy
by
the
a friend.
buy the mug by a friend.
By a friend, yes, exactly.
Hey, I bought this mug by a friend.
B-U-Y.
B-U-Y a mug, B-Y a friend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of cool.
Cole, what did you want to talk about?
I want to talk about
Before Phil
and-
interrupted you. I'm just kidding.
I'm getting
I
kind of sick of
apologize.
that. Sick of Phil interrupting me all the time. So, I
Everything I do.
I swear to God, you're making me so mad. I hate you so much.
So, how do you guys get better? It's interesting because Chad Hansen just barely posted on my live stream from this morning and kind of asked this same question. He said, what do you all do when you play? Do you learn covers? Do you write and come up with new stuff? Do you play the same riffs you're familiar with? Do you mess with effects?
Yes.
And my question was like, how do you actually get better at guitar? I mean, I guess I know the answer is to practice stuff that's hard for you and try to get better at it. But like in practice, what do you guys do to get better? And maybe I think none of us are guitar virtuosos or anything like that. But what are your thoughts on that? Speak on that.
I think that's a good question that we don't have a great answer for, but I will say that I think practicing is important, but I think practicing the right things is maybe more important. And I don't know that I've found those right things yet to make me better. But also I think just playing like makes you better to a certain degree. Like it's
10,000 hours, yo.
just playing isn't going to teach you like technique and stuff, but the more you play, like the more comfortable you get, and then those techniques are easier when you do go to learn them, maybe.
Yeah.
So like I remember I most of what I do is like I would play along to music or just kind of jam by myself or with other people, but like I remember when I discovered like triads as a thing, and I was like, oh, I was kind of doing that already, but now like I have language to put to it, and like now it fits into the system that I can like easily conceptualize.
Yeah.
So I think it's both.
It's the same way when you kind of start to learn about scales.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, there's actually like structure to this that I can apply.
Yeah, it's like I knew these notes
context or
sounded
whatever.
good together, but now I know why they sound good together. Or why they make sense together. Or like the Nashville number system, I think is kind of a similar thing to me.
Yeah, totally.
Like, oh, I recognize that as like box patterns on the fretboard, but now I see that you can move it wherever and it makes sense. And actually I learned that just from punk rock because there's like
Power chords.
well, not just power chords, but there was like 4 different like patterns of how you move the power chords that like
exactly.
fit together. There's like the triangle and there's the X and there's like the square.
The T
The Z.
or whatever.
Yeah, there's the D.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's why I got into punk rock. How do you practice, Phil?
I don't, which is part of the problem, kind of like you said. But I think the thing that I've been, and this is so dumb, this is like such a low standard, but like the idea of like memorizing music as opposed to, looking at paper or my iPad. I don't practice nearly enough to like have anything other than that as a goal.
But I think that is a good goal though, because you, like a lot of times you can just pick up your guitar, and if you have stuff memorized, you can just kind of jam it out, and then you don't have this extra barrier of I gotta get out my laptop or my iPad or something like that.
One thing that I try to do also, especially like on acoustic guitar, is I'll try to figure out a song's chord pattern based on like the melody almost, and then try to figure out how to play the chord and the melody at the same time, or kind of like strum the chord and then find the melody like within that hand position. And I think that's been useful for me acoustically to get better. But I have a question for you guys. Do you practice Santeria?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't practice Santeria.
I don't have a crystal ball, if that's what you're going to ask.
If I had $8 billion, well, I'd build the wall. Have
Did
you seen
make that up on the fly?
No, there was a meme floating around.
I was going to say. But
it seemed relevant in this current state of emergency.
Like one thing that I do a lot.
Go California.
On acoustic.
Oh, sorry.
I do a lot of like pick strumming stuff.
Uh-huh.
And that's one thing where like I'll play a lot of the same songs I did 15 years ago, but because I've played them over and over, my like, what am I trying to say? My technique is way better now than it used to be. It's like, even though I'm not practicing something that's hard for me, I am way better at it than I used to be. Kind of like what you were saying.
And I think that's important. Like it depends on your goals too. Like, what do you mean by get good at guitar? Because if you mean like, how do I shred, then that's a different story than like, how do I play confidently while singing? Like, those are two different goals.
Like consistently. Because like I bet a lot of studio players or like session guitarists aren't like the most shreddy guys, but like you can give them music and they'll play it very well time after time instead of having to do 10 takes or whatever.
Yeah, and like for them, timing is super important too, because they're like,
exactly.
If you're playing with people, then, or if you're jumping in, timing is important. Also, and then like for some people, reading music is important. For other people, it's not important. If you're a studio guy, I'm sure reading music is very important. A lot of times.
Yeah, especially if you're playing like with somebody other than a bassist and a drummer,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Or if you're just like coming in for the day and like, here's the track, here's the song, play it. And you're like, oh, I better learn this. I better read the music.
Whether it's staffs or tablature, like being able to do it on the fly would be a useful skill. Yeah, because I don't really care about, like, I think about songs that I've learned. And a lot of times, like, it really is just sitting down and just plunking it out over and over. Like,
right.
Like what song? Even like the intro to Pawn Shop, I learned pretty quickly, but that was like, it wasn't very fun initially because I wasn't, like, the thing that I enjoy is just playing a song and singing along to it and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But you have to, like, if you want to learn stuff that's hard for you, you got to be willing to you have to be willing for it to suck at first,
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's a skill you have to learn also to be okay with that.
I agree, but I feel like there were so many times when I was a kid where it was like, okay, you're taking lessons for this thing. And I feel like it would have been so simple to go, hey, what's something that you want to learn? And that then there's like buy-in, but instead, like, I feel like I was exposed to a lot of, okay, here's the thing, you have to do a bunch of stuff that you don't care about, that you don't like, before you can do anything that you care about. And it's like, no, I don't think learning anything needs to be that way.
Right. It's like the Karate Kid. Like, yes, in the end, the things that he made him do, like, worked. But also, like, if you would have just told him, like, I want you to do this because it's practice to make you, like, good at karate, it would have been way better.
Yes, totally.
Like, you're not sanding the floor just to sand the floor. Like, this
it wouldn't have made a good movie.
It will make you a good karate man.
Karate Kid.
Yeah,
Karate
like
Kid.
that's how when I Karate Kid.
Karate Kid Scott.
I think about like songs like I learned when I first got Rocksmith, or maybe I can't remember if Say It Ain't So was already available on there when I got it. But as soon as it was, I learned it like very quickly, and that song is probably like, it's definitely above the skill level of what I could normally just pick up and play off the top of my head, like the solo and everything. But I was able to learn it quickly, and I can play it pretty well just because I enjoy that song, And that's how it was when you first start playing guitar too. You have like this whole backlog in your head of songs you wish you could play. And so it's like, yeah, I learned Redemption Song really quickly when I first started because I wanted to really bad.
Right.
like it wasn't a chore, you know. So yeah, I think like making it like it doesn't have to suck, you know, if you're playing stuff you actually want to play. And that's maybe like I don't know, do people, maybe this is a loaded question, but like do people actually enjoy praise and worship music?
On what level? Like, I don't understand.
Like if I was gonna join, if somebody came to me tomorrow and said like, we're gonna start a cover band and we're just gonna play like late '90s or all '90s pop punk songs, and like you can sing and play guitar, I'd be like, yeah, I'm all in. I'll quit my job. I'll do anything I have to.
Yeah.
And but if someone was like, hey, we want you to play, that's what I'm wondering is like when somebody gets approached, because that's how a lot of like church bands are, is they like come to you and say, hey, you play guitar, can you play guitar in our band?
Yeah.
Are most people like thrilled about that? And it's like, yeah, that's the type of music I'd be jamming to anyways. Or is it kind of like when you're in a wedding band and you have to learn like the boot scoot and boogie or something like that?
Twofold
but cold
answer.
Oh, go ahead.
Is boot scoot boogie considered praise and worship music? That's my first question.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, you get down, you turn around, you go to town.
Like you get down on your knees.
Yeah, you repent, and then you go to town to tell people about Jesus.
The town of heaven.
No. You get down on your knees, you turn around your soul, you go to town and tell people about Jesus. Boot scoot boogie.
Your boots are scooting from house to house as you're knocking on doors and saying, hey,
tell them about your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Our Lord and Savior. Okay, so what were you saying?
Wait, Phil, were you going to make a joke first? Or were you
I was not going to make a
serious?
joke. I was going to say a serious thing. So if you were going to make a serious
No, I was going to say a serious comment too. I was just going to say,
Okay,
like,
go.
I think on the one hand, the situation is usually the opposite direction. Like, I think more often than not, people are, like, coming to the band to say, I want to be a part of this.
That makes
rather
sense,
than, like, being approached. But that could just be... I'm sure it happens both ways, too, but...
No, but that makes sense. Like, if I was in a situation where every week I was going somewhere and watching a band play, I would want to be in that band.
Yeah. And it's also like, I mean, not to get too spiritual about it, but it's like, you know, this is what I do well, and I want to use what I do well, like, for the church. So that's the way that I can do that. So, like, plug me in, you know?
I mean, that's how that's what my day job is, you know?
Yeah. So I think it's enjoyable on that level for most people, but but I also think that it is musically enjoyable. Like, there's something about just playing with a band that is enjoyable, even if you're not super into the music. For me, at least.
Also, and this is like on the darker, weirder side, I feel like there's a level of just sort of like kind of going with the herd aspect of it. Like, Cole, like, you can't honestly say that 100% of all JC LDSers are like stoked about taking 2 years out of their life to not listen to music and not talk to girls.
Oh, no, totally.
Right? But there's like a buy-in of like, well, this is what we do, and so I can get excited about it because it's like, oh, this is a thing that we do, but clearly it's like a sacrifice.
There's an element of sacrifice kind of inherent to the whole thing, yeah.
And it's
obvious, and I know that's a super lame comparison on one hand, but like
it's an apt comparison, I think.
But the idea of like, oh, like, so you said, do people like genuinely like the music? I think there's kind of like a tacit like, well, this is what we do, and if this is what we're doing, can I bring something to it or not? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
totally. I mean, it's the same way in my church where, you know, people get excited like, oh, I love this hymn. And it's like,
right.
Yeah, like, so do I. And like, I feel the Spirit when I listen to it or whatever, but also like, I'm not just like,
or whatever,
jamming out to, you know, whatever. I'm trying to think.
So
a lot of our hymns are like
hymns
that everyone knows, but yeah, exactly. Like, I'd rather have more hers than hymns, if you know what I'm saying.
Like chips, chips.
No, that's actually a really good comparison, Phil, because like, yeah, it's like a part of, like, it comes with the territory.
Yeah, and no one, and like, if you're pushed, like, no one would go, well, wait, can we all look around at each other and go, hey, we don't like this? No, you can't really do that. Right?
Yeah, like, there's
not room.
Play Rancid, you know.
Like, I mean, I have done that, like, in context, like, I don't like this song. Can we not do this song anymore?
Yes.
And that's the same way, like, people don't want to say... It's the same way where people are like, man, this book of the Bible kind of sucks. Like, nobody wants to say that because it's like, oh, you think God sucks? Like, sorry for you. But yeah, that does. Like, there's obviously some that are better than others.
This is something I was going to bring up before, too, because I know Chad had asked about effects, right? And I think that, like, for me at least... Because I've said a lot of stupid things about effects, like that tube screamers are worthless and like that I hate delay and all this stuff, right? Which none of those are actually true. But I think with effects, you kind of have to like learn to play them. So part of it is practicing them, and I think part of like your question is that one of the enjoyable things about playing that style of music, which I don't do often, thankfully, because I mostly play. Well, I don't do like at church. I mostly play acoustic, so I don't play like that kind of lead stuff. But a lot of the part of it is that's enjoyable is kind of learning a different style that's kind of out of your comfort zone and thinking about the guitar in a different way and like learning how to use those effects. So like learning how to play with a delay pedal is something that's been really challenging but fun for me.
Yeah, that's like the reason. I don't know, this kind of just popped in my head, and it's like part of having fun with guitar is recognizing your strengths, and like I'm not creative, and so I end up enjoying it more when I just accept the fact that, like, yeah, I'd rather just play cover songs or mess around with pedals and try to learn how to use them, rather than, like, I'll watch demo videos and think like, oh yeah, I wouldn't have even thought to play, especially like I was thinking about that with delay pedals, like I wouldn't have even thought to play that type of riff and have it repeat in that way.
Right.
But obviously it sounds awesome, and so part of me it like gets frustrated that like, oh, I'm going to sit down and write a song, and it's like it's very unlikely that I'm going to like come up with a song out of my head that I really enjoy, just cuz I don't think I'm creative in that way, you know. And so if I just accept that and try to like mimic what others do, then I get better, probably more so than if I'm just trying to start from scratch or something. Where some people I think are very good at sort of either like creating something or just improvising or whatever.
Yeah, like the Edge gets a bad rap because his stuff's simple, but he's like invented a sound basically. Yeah, that's really cool, like, that a lot of people have emulate now.
It's like when you go back and listen to like early punk bands, and it's like, yeah, they kind of suck, but they were like
right.
They were the only ones doing it, and now it just it's like, or it's like going back and watching like NFL videos from the 60s.
Right.
It's like they're all slow and short and crappy and everything, but it's like, yeah, they wouldn't. That was the best there was on the planet at the time, and now it just happens that a lot of people have mimicked that and gotten better at it, you know.
Yeah. Like Steph Curry throwing up those threes.
Dude, right. Steph Curry.
Stefan.
Yeah.
Stefan or Cal Curry.
He's no Jimmer though.
That's true. He's not.
Lucky for him too. He's had a successful NBA career.
We have one last ad spot. Should we jump into it?
Probably so.
Anyone?
Are you trying to remember what it is?
No, I was waiting for someone else to jump in.
Oh.
Welcome to Gun Street Wiring Shop. We make wires for your guitar. We can change your pickup configuration. We can give you coil split. We can give you different selection options. We can make your Tele 3-way switch do things it's never done before by removing it and replacing it with a 5-way switch. We can make your SG more like a SG, baby. We can make your Les Paul be a more Paul. We can make your Strat be the Strat. We can make whatever you have better, more exciting, and more fun. If you're tired of playing with the same old options, visit Gun Street Wiring Shop. They have a custom shop and plenty of off-the-shelf options to make your guitar yours. GunStreetWiringShop.com. Do the gun thing again.
That's
All right,
the
welcome
street
back
part
to
of it.
welcome back to the Gear
Doppler
Slam.
effect. Ding, 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 ding. I guess that's more of a train, but gun tracks. Hey, write this down for next time. We'll cut this out though. We'll turn your PRS into a OMFG.
Oh. That's cool.
That should
That's
be
good.
part
That's
of
really
the ad
good.
every time.
We shall turn your SG into an OMG.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, that is exactly what we were just talking about. Is like you were the first one to try that, and then you come along later and come up with a better version.
Yeah,
that
all we're
doesn't
doing
mean,
is it's
that
just
doesn't mean your
punch-ups.
first joke wasn't bad, wasn't good.
Right. Right. But I wouldn't say now having a better one.
That was like that first joke was like the Ramones, and then the next joke was like I don't know, freaking
Like Green Day.
Good Charlotte.
Green Day's better than the Ramones. Good Charlotte's better than Green Day.
Whoa.
Real Friends is better than Good Charlotte.
AFI is better than all of them.
Neck Deep is the best punk band of all time. Not true.
Exactly.
Dude, I don't even recognize pop punk anymore. It's like insane.
It's weird.
They have way too much talent with their guitars.
That is like part of what it is, and like
It's very technical music now. It's like this is pop punk
back in the
now?
day. Like some bands were like that, and it was kind of endearing. Like Strung Out is like very shreddy a lot of times, but it was reminiscent of like 80s shredding rather than being like, oh, these guys all met at Berklee College of Music or something like that.
Right. But remember when like MXPX was pop punk, and now pop punk is like four guitars doing like complex
and
tapping melodies
MXPX
and
or
stuff.
like Blink 182.
Yeah, it was just power
and it was
chords and like tiny
he does this like
lead lines.
relatively easy solo, and if he plays it live, there's like a decent chance he'll botch it.
Right. Now you have to actually be good. It's weird.
Yeah,
It doesn't even sound the same. I just don't get it. Like, I mean, I'm fine with it. I just, when people say pop punk, I don't know what it means anymore.
Yeah, that's why I have to specify like 90s pop punk,
Yeah, it's crazy.
which is fine. Like we're just old.
Do you guys like Bad
That's
Religion?
probably how Phil feels about like the mamas and the papas and stuff.
He's like, this is
like
you call
Elvis
this
Presley.
rhythm and blues?
This ain't no Buddy Holly.
Dude, I love Buddy Holly.
Do you dress like Buddy Holly?
I look just like Buddy Holly.
I don't think I knew that that's what the actual words were until I saw the video with captions on. Or maybe it was playing it in Rocksmith. I always thought it was Wii U, I don't dress like Buddy Holly.
Oh, no.
But the next one is, and you're Mary Tyler Moore.
And I thought it was and no Mary Tyler Moore. It's like, okay, you don't dress like Buddy Holly or Mary Tyler Moore. Like, I would say you dress more like Buddy Holly than Mary Tyler Moore, but like, I guess you think you don't look like either of them.
I don't care what they say about us anyway.
Yeah, like it obviously makes a lot more sense. I'm not saying my way was logical or anything.
No, the highway is better than your way.
My way or the highway. This time I'ma let it all hang out. This time I'ma stand up and shout. I'ma do things my way. It's my way or the highway.
What's your guys'
that's
favorite?
music
What's
I
your
can get
favorite
behind.
Limp Bizkit song?
Break stuff.
Okay,
Duh.
break stuff.
I mean, honestly, it's the Faith cover because it's like legitimately a good cover
Okay.
song.
That okay.
I don't like to admit that, but it is.
Mine is
Yeah.
Rollin'.
Roland is also freaking great.
Rolling.
It's
Also
not.
Nookie.
It's not just, and maybe I can't see it for what it is, but because of the video, it's just so aggressively terrible.
Well, that's why I like it, because it's really bad.
It's
Which one,
so-
Roland?
Yeah.
It's so bad. Yeah, Roland, where he's like the whole video is them leaning back and doing the like steering wheel thing, you know.
Well, that was them at like peak height. So
height.
it was like, hey, we need a bunch of people. We need a bunch of fans to be in a video, and like,
But it was also the exact moment that they jumped the shark. Like
Yeah.
that was their peak, and then it was just a cliff from there.
well, filming the video was peak height.
The release of it was like
Release of the video.
It was
yes.
the cliff.
But legitimately, my favorite is Nookie. That's my favorite Limp Bizkit song.
She had me feeling bad. She had me feeling good. It's kind of sad. I'm the laughing stock of the neighborhood.
I like the bass line on it. or guitar, whatever that's doing that weird thing.
Yeah.
He did he play like
I
an
like the
extended
sounds.
range guitar?
He may have
The
had a
dude with
7-string
black-
or like
with the
just
black
really
contact
down tuned.
lenses?
Wes Borland.
Yeah.
I don't think it was extended range. I think he just tuned down, and it was the Korn guys that had like. They had the
Yeah,
7 strings.
Korn like
the more
it
notes.
originally like popularized. Have you ever thought about the fact that Wes Borland and Al Borland might be related?
No. Because one of them is fictional.
That's your opinion. Which
I
one?
don't know.
Wes?
Wes Borland kind of seems. He kind of seems like
He
a
seemed
weird
like a less believable
dream.
Wait,
human being than Al
were they
Borland.
like Marilyn Manson, where they like mix up their names after like famous people too?
two famous names.
Yeah, who was the Wes?
Wes Craven. It's
Oh,
Wes Craven and
Wesley
Al
Snipes.
Borland.
Wesley Snipes.
Wes Craven and Al Borland. That is a pretty good, and that actually, that fits. I like that. Is that what Marilyn Manson?
Wait, did
is?
Wes
Like
Borland
Marilyn
play
Monroe
bass?
and Charles Manson?
No, he played guitar.
In this video, he's playing a thing with only 4 tuners on it.
Bro.
It's weird. It's like a ukulele or something.
He has.
It's probably not. It
He
just
does
looks
play
weird.
guitar.
Yeah,
I do like I admire the people who have like this exaggerated costume that is a part of you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like Kiss, I guess it maybe was one of the first famous ones along those lines. But like Slipknot, like I love the fact that like
yeah,
oh
the
man.
stupid masks.
Cuz I look at like I went to that face-to-face concert and
Uh-huh.
I was thinking to myself like it's kind of a bummer that these guys still have to play in clubs that are exactly the same size as they were 20 years ago,
Uh-huh.
and like this is just their 9-to-5 job,
Yeah.
like can you imagine having to do that and also having to wear that freaking mask every night? Like,
Yeah.
that thing must
But don't you think
smell
it's-
terrible?
For some reason, I think it's even better that he's the only guy.
In Limp
Like,
Bizkit,
In the band.
Yes.
Exactly.
Like the fact that Slipknot is like, hey, we're a band that dresses weird, and
Yeah.
I find
Or
that
like
like
Guar
kind
or
of annoying.
I bet I wonder if it was like they're like
Everyone else-
all right,
everyone
guys,
else
let's
bailed
all
on
do
it."
something crazy for the first show. Yeah, and he's the only one that like followed through.
He shows up,
because
he's
there
like,
were
"What
there
the
were no
hell,
group
guys?"
texts back then, so like
Why'd you guys
It was a prank.
guys bailed on me? Or no, they were just like, yeah, I stopped at the costume store. I didn't have enough time. And like,
he's
No,
like,
they're all like
but I
whispering
already
to each
got
other.
these stupid black contacts in. Like I can't take them out.
No, they're all whispering to
these
each other.
cost
They're
like
like,
$400.
Oh, you think they pranked
just
him?
let's just make Wes do it, and you guys don't do
No,
it.
I like to think
gonna
that
be so
like
funny.
they were expecting him not to do it also. But then he just rolled with
And
it.
he, like-
There's no way he'll actually do it. Like,
And that's where the
but then he
song
doubled
"Rollin'"
down.
came from.
you just keep rolling with it,
Yeah,
Yeah,
just like Wes.
I was gonna. I had
But
a
also,
question
like,
for you, but I forgot.
Fred Durst, like, he has the least, like, he's just dressed up like the broest bro ever,
yeah,
like-
well, it's like it's low income, bro, is what the rest of them look like.
Yeah, like
but
they all
that
look
is,
like-
but then like it's so weird that like khakis and a backwards red cap became like an iconic thing
yeah,
that
for
people would like
douchebag.
emulate.
Yeah, it became like the douchebag, outfit or whatever.
Yeah,
The douchebag.
remember when people used to wear
uniform.
khakis? Like it was
I
cool to
still
wear
do.
khakis.
I mean, I wear Dickies. Does that?
but like yeah, I guess I did too. But I never wore the khaki colored ones. I always wore like different colored ones.
Well, there was a thing in like it was like in 98, 99 that like Gap came out with a a huge.
I think that was even before that.
An aggressive ad campaign. Are you denim? Are you jeans or khakis? Right.
The Gap khakis like ad came out in probably like 94 or something. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. Oh, 99. Never mind. You were right, dude.
Dude,
oh,
Phil,
remember
you
they
just
had that.
freaking owned him live on the air.
Suck it.
Remember they had that swing. I'm just because like in my mind I'm so young that like it all blurs together before I was a certain age. But like Phil, you were old enough to really be
Phil
able to
remembers.
distinguish
Okay,
between.
well then don't.
'Cause that's
don't
when he was in
fine.
his-
Then don't try and correct
I
me.
won't.
That was his second
Ever-
year of grad school.
I won't ever try to correct you again. But it's just like 98 feels like so long ago now. It looks like so long ago. Remember when
You want to know how
swing dancing
You
was
want to know
popular?
why I remembered
No.
the ad campaign?
Yeah.
Because of Fight Club. because I remember thinking, whoa, that is so weird. Because in the movie Fight Club, he looks into the camera and he says, "You're not your effing khakis."
Yeah, he does do that.
And I remember like feeling,
Like
I remember
personally
like
attacked.
Because you identified with
No.
the Gap.
No, I remember like feeling it. Like it was like because the ad was so aggressive and had just come out, and it was like they were like the ad was kind of saying like demanding
F the Gap.
that you take a stand, you know, which is stupid,
Right,
right?
like your
It's a commercial.
your pants define you, which is what
Yes,
all ads
exactly.
do. But
Yeah, totally. But like it was so aggressive and so like everywhere, but like it was everywhere in that moment. And then in the movie, he looks into the camera
Yeah.
and says, "You're not your effing khakis." And it was like, whoa, like it
destroys
just
it.
you guys probably didn't see it in the theater because you were probably children.
I didn't. I saw it at my friend's house, like when it first came out on video.
But I saw it in the theater, and
I was still in
remember
high school.
feeling like moved by it.
I remember
I know that's
it
weird
kind
to
of
say,
blowing
but,
my
like-
mind. It's a really smart movie. I think it's better than it gets credit for because it's so stylized. But I think it's like an actually good movie. I mean, it's not like a hot
there
take or
was, like,
anything, but
There's been more backlash against it than it probably deserves because
Yeah.
it became
Backlash.
Yeah, like I'm saying, like it became the movie that like every freaking or college freshman
right.
is going to talk about how they love Reservoir Dogs and Fight Club and Godfather or something like that. And it's like, yeah, we get it. Everyone likes Fight Club. It's not like this cool kitschy thing about you,
Right.
Yeah.
Which it's not, but it's also still good. Just like this show.
Exactly.
Everyone
just
loves
like-
the Gear Slum. It's not
It's
kitschy,
just like
cool
The
thing that you
Godfather.
like.
Like The Godfather's a super good movie, even
Right.
if every college freshman has the poster on their wall.
The
that
Godfather's
doesn't
good.
make it less good.
I think the difference is that like that Fight Club kind of feels like it's trying to be counterculture, and The
Yeah.
Godfather doesn't. So I think that's why like it's like a counterculture thing that became part of normal culture, and so now it's
Pulp
like
Fiction.
you kind of
like
want to
Fight
react
Club is
against
kind
it.
of like Pulp Fiction in that way.
Yeah, that's in the
where
similar
like
way.
Godfather set out to have very wide appeal. I think.
Yeah. Dude, listen to the Rewatchables podcast about The Godfather because there was some crazy stuff that would happen with that movie. But anyway, Ford Coppola is amazing. Francis. Guys, I have one more topic for this episode, and that is to end it with this. Y'all, thanks for friendship.
You said you were going to do that accent the whole time.
I did. I've been doing it the whole time. I just now stopped. Listen to the beginning of the episode, listen to the very end, and you'll see that I did.
Okay. Skip
Just
the
skip the whole middle
58
part.
minutes in
Yeah,
between.
just skip the middle, skip from the intro to the end, and you'll see that I never changed it.
It's like when I spot check notebooks.
Yeah. It's like it could say anything in the middle as long as you have a good intro.
Mr. Eisenhower, just look at the first page and look at the last page,
Yeah.
and you'll see that I did all of the notes.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's what
Thanks
I
for
want to say.
friendship.
Thanks for friendship, but also Wes Borland kind of looks like Seth Green. Thanks
Yeah,
for
he
friendship.
does. Also, guys, make sure you
crap, he
go
does.
to our Patreon page, patreon.com/thegearslum, and give us some money. We would appreciate it. That's it.
all.
We would appreciate it.
Just one of those days.
I came into this world as a reject. Look into these eyes, and you'll see the size of the thing. Thanks for friendship.
I like that you ended with "Mama say, Mama say."
I did it all for the
Mama
nookie.
say, Mama say.
So you can take the cookie and stick it up your hay, stick it up your hay, stick it up your hay.
Stick it up your
yeah.
Stick it up your yeah. That's
Yeah,
why I
stick it up
corrected
your yeah.
you in the 100 group.
Is it? That was a different song.
It's stick it up your yeah.
I'm listening
Okay.
to you. I believe
It's not
you.
stick it up your hay.
Oh,
The other part is
Okay, look, if you Google "stick it up your," the first one is jumper, which I don't even know what that means. But the second one is yeah. Stick it up your yeah.
stick it up your yeah.
Exactly. And if you Google stick it up your the first result is the video for Nookie, and it
Got
actually
it.
has it in the
Don't
lyrics.
care.
But Aaron, you're thinking of like a chump. Hey, like a chump. Hey,
Okay.
like a chump. Hey.
Aaron, don't be so triggered.
I get it. I don't
Why are
know
you
Limp Bizkit as well as
Don't
some
be a
other people.
snowflake.
Listen to Aaron's liberal tears right now, everyone.